What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. And so in this video, Bungie give a handful of updates as always. We talk about some fixes, as well as some upcoming changes. So we'll discuss all of that, as well as some content updates this week, Echo's progression, and some more previews for upcoming content that we're going to see in Act 3. That includes a bit more information about the exotic mission. Of course, Bungie have also spoken about that, but we can also see some additional rewards for it. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you do, a rating really does help us out down below. But now, let's get into it. And starting out with some Bungie updates here, a lot of people in the community got a bit hyped when they shared this tweet, initializing nanomachine fabrication, and there's a reference to fabricating, calibrating, and naming the nanomachines, as well as their deployment. A lot of folks seem to think this was about Siva, and given that a lot of players would like to see that Siva theme once again, regardless of the lore implications of course, and even things like Wrath of the Machine, automatically folks thought this was some kind of a tease for Siva, but it's actually a reference to the Echo's quest steps that we had last week, with the nano robots that were deployed in the storyline. So a bit of a rude tease really. I would love to see that Siva theme, Siva Fallen, Wrath, or any Siva content again, but I'm not sure if it'll happen. Other updates though, and Bungie said, that resolved an issue where a subset of players haven't been able to receive Trials of Osiris intro quests and gain access to the activity. So if that happens to have affected anyone, or anybody you know, it should now be fixed. And on the subject of exotic class items which have been discussed quite a bit, Bungie reiterate that the first changes they're pushing live will be focused on Pale Heart and Overthrow drop rates. And basically Bungie is saying we're going to get more drops by playing Overthrow, and even opening Lost Sector chests and so on in the Pale Heart, but they will be monitoring the conversation once the patch is out in early August, and future facing, they don't have any firm plans to share yet, but the team is aware of feedback around how players actually acquire them. So again, further indications that we could see some changes down the road potentially. Another update from Bungie here related to this week's content though, and they said the active Crucible nodes for this week are 3v3 elimination and momentum control, and last week's Next Week in Destiny card in-game message incorrectly listed Showdown as a game mode for this week, but indeed it is not a game mode for this week. So good to get clarification. Some of these Next Week in Destiny cards have been saying all kinds of random things, especially this season, things like exotic missions being wrong. But anyway, there's some clarification on that. One of the best things about the rotations this week is that we've got Exodus crashes the Nightfall, and we're getting double loot and bonus reputation with Warden's Law as the featured weapon. So definitely don't sleep on that if you fancy making some progress in the Vanguard or farming for rolls on the thing. And then moving on to this week's episode content, of course it's the final week of episode story until the 27th of August. Spoiler alerts for this week's story, but of course we got the new mission Shell on Nessus, and this actually has a really cool area with this giant space underground and portals that shoot off in different directions. I would say visually and thematically, while this is more sort of Nessus and Vex themed content, a lot of the stuff in Echoes actually is pretty cool. And of course we went back to the Infinite Forest and to the Tomb of Saint 14. There were actually a couple of funny moments during our run through of the story. The first one was listening to the dialogue at Failsafe. My friend Duddits went and fed the frog from last week's research quest, and it actually cut up the dialogue for this week. And of course Failsafe was talking about the frog, and so the dialogue for Saint and Osiris just cut out, and they were standing there waving their hands at each other with no actual commentary for a moment. Then when we got to the Tomb of Saint 14, immediately before Saint and Osiris spawn in, Saint and Osiris merged and appeared in the middle of the tomb, as you can see right here, before taking their specified positions for the dialogue. But beyond that, we actually got to meet the Conductor in a cutscene for the first time, which was pretty cool. And I'll run that cutscene at the end of the video if you happen to miss it in the game. But otherwise, of course, we got access to the Perfect Paradox, and we actually got a pretty good roll of it with Trench Barrel and Jewel Loader, and so reloading adds an additional shot at a time. But on top of that, the Cast No Shadows origin trait allows melee damage to load a small amount of ammo from reserves, so it's a really good melee focused roll of the weapon. And we also got the next Nessus research quest. So initially we can pick up the green item from the research and development bay, and then the specimen that we need will actually spawn in any of the battlegrounds. The one that we collected was in Battleground Core before the final boss room near the rally flag in the corner right here. And beyond that, when we return to Failsafe, she'll give us the Nest 06 quest. So some more progress this week, slightly more interesting story really, and the location and scenery for the mission at the very least was pretty neat. So probably one of the better moments for episode story. But of course from here, it will resume at the end of August. The last thing I wanted to talk about right here though, is another teaser from Bungie Leaks sharing some info about the upcoming exotic mission that we're going to get in Act 3. So spoiler alerts right here, if you don't want to know anything about it, we can end the video at this point. But of course we know we'll get a new exotic weapon, which has also been previewed, coming during Act 3. But here they share that the mission is called Encore, and apparently it looks like there will be up to 5 5 different bosses in the upcoming mission. They also shared a bunch of objectives and things. But it's interesting, Bungie also said in an interview about this that it's one of the biggest exotic missions they've ever built, and it's only been possible because of the new content cadence. And they say building something so massive wouldn't have been possible in the past. But now the dev team have taken the opportunity and the willingness to adapt to the new content model to seize the opportunity to expand on Nessus. So again, it's cool that it sounds like it's going to be a fairly significant piece of content, at least as a standalone mission. We also haven't really seen much about a potential third activity outside of the exotic mission itself for Act 3, so given that this seems like a fairly big thing, I think it actually could potentially be the featured activity for Act 3, and that would certainly be interesting. But here finally, Bungie Leaks also shared a couple of emblems that'll be associated with the mission. So there's a general completion emblem, Transcendent Whisper, I think that's the one we can see right here. It also seems curious that there appears to be a reference to Whisper of the Worm there, but apparently it's linked to the mission. And the other emblem is called Before Aurora, and this is to complete it on expert difficulty. And we can see the Conductor right there, and the cool vexy meshy stuff in the background, so those look pretty neat. And again, I think on top of the fact that this will be an exotic mission, it's looking like there could be quite a few elements to it, and possibly even involvement with a sort of weekly component of the season or the episode, so probably going to be the key activity for Act 3, so I would imagine that Bungie are going to want to use that space quite a bit. Let us know if you're looking forward to that down in the comment section, but for today guys, that's what we have to speak about. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, a rating really does help us out down below. Also be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Lakshmi?
Is a facsimile its archetype? No, I am Maya Sandrash. But we have already met.
Sundarish. So this is what happened to you after Neomuna, after your experiments with the Veil.
I know what you can do with the Echo of Command. I will not allow you to raise an army of Vex.
I'm doing what I've been called to do.
The Vex called to you.
Humanity called to me. The collapse, the Black Fleet is finished. Now we can look back to what we've lost. Radiolaria is the means to this end. It represents the smallest unit of consciousness. 1 trillion formless minds, notes in a symphony of thought. Each one begging for direction, for a conductor. Nessus will be converted. The radial area I command will be spread throughout the system. I will deliver us a golden age. And if you stand in the way of progress, I will break you down into more compliant elements.
We are not your Vex.
You will be.
Get us out of here, now!